And I was once at the Bahai Center in Chicago, a huge, huge temple.
Right.
Is it? I've heard it said before that there's only one major Bahai temple in each continent.
That's right, and that's mostly because of financial purposes. The intention is one day there'll be Bahai temples in every town. The community just simply isn't large enough and doesn't have the resources yet for that.
Okay. Do you proselytize?
It's forbidden. Proselytizing is forbidden. Speaking about the oneness of humanity, speaking about Baha'u'llah's teachings is encouraged, but proselytizing is absolutely forbidden. One of the primary teachings of Baha'u'llah is that each person has to find truth for themselves. And again, if religion is less about a doctrine and more about our common humanity, then your life of service to others, your life of being a compassionate support to someone is a louder testimony of your faith than trying to convince someone of a doctrine. So there's a beautiful statement also that says that the essence of faith is fewness of words and abundance of deeds. He whose words exceed his deeds, know verily that your death is better than your life. So it's
the rabbi said the same thing. Omer I'll say harbe. Say little but do a lot.
Say a little but do a lot.
Yeah.
Life of mitzvahs.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, so you're saying that I don't have, in your concept of redemption, like I started off speaking of, I could still remain a Jew. I don't have to become a Baha'i in order to be included in that redemptive umbrella under the...
No one knows the mind of God. We can only hope that we are serving His will as best we can, but the way we learn of God's will is through the great religious traditions and through our experience of love and service to each other. And it just seems to me it's like in basketball. If you forget the basics, you lose.
Yeah.
So the basics are humility and service, humility and loving service in a spirit of compassion. Just keep going back to the basics, and then God will guide you.
And you feel the basics are in most religions?
All religion,
yeah.
All religion. They're all the expressions of the nobility of the human spirit. And Baha'u'llah emphatically states and explicitly states that they're all inspired by the same source.
So therefore, people don't need to convert or change their religion. They just have to realize the sacred teachings that are eternal and common and universal.
Yeah, my sense is that there's maybe a twofold process there. The first is the world would benefit immensely if we put on the eyes that saw our common humanity and the common inspiration of all religions. The world would change overnight if that were the case. But secondarily, Baha'u'llah, a Baha'i would say, brought some very innovative teachings that would take that spirit and apply it in ways that are particularly suited to the day and age we live in. But first things first. The first thing is let's see our common humanity. And then if a person's interested of their own volition, they can explore Baha'u'llah's teachings. But it's not my job to decide who God decides is saved and who isn't.
So do you feel that the role of Baha'i is to wake us all up to find the particular exaltedness in our religion, our respective religions?
I think that's a wonderful service for anyone, and a Baha'i would think that's a great thing. Sometimes I find the expression of my faith as a Baha'i is to not mention I'm a Baha'i because it would cause difficulty with the person I'm with. And if the purpose of religion is unity, then
why
bring it up?
Yeah.
You know, if it comes up, I'm happy to talk about it. But
yeah. Now, the idea of spiritual evolution, we understand the physical evolution of the species, and it would make sense that there's a spiritual evolution as well. Now, some people feel, well, for example, this tendency in Islam to say that Muhammad was the last prophet, and there's no more prophecy, and there's no other leadership of that authority. That would seem to, put a damper on the possibility for evolution.
Right. Well, every religion, the monotheistic religions in particular, but also Hinduism, Buddhism, have difficulty recognizing the next founder of a religion. Can I tell you a little story?
Sure,
Do you have time?
sure.
When I was in college, I remember at the University of Illinois going into the student union, and there was a table for the B'nai B'rith, a whole big long table of several Jewish student organizations. And I sat down. We're talking about Israel and how exciting it is that the desert has bloomed. And I made the comment, it's kind of interesting that Judaism really became known in the world through Christianity. And they said, well, and the reaction I got to that was not very positive. And I remember I came back an hour later after a class, and there was a Christian table. And I sat down at them and was talking about, it's wonderful what you're doing in service here. And isn't it interesting that Islam mentions Christianity and honors Christianity? And to a person, they said, well, that's just paganism. That's just the devil worship, that Islam. I said, no, it's not at all that.
It's right in the Quran.
And then it came back an hour later after another class, and there was a Muslim a Muslim table. I swear to God, this happened. And I sat down with them and was talking about, it's interesting how most people in the West know so little about the beauty of Islam, and that it accepts Judaism and Christianity. And by the way, I'm a Bahai. And that was the end, So it's, who are we to chain the hands of God? God decides, as you said.
We have a problem, don't we?
God decides. And I think you can't fail by reverting always back to the principles of humility and compassion. And again, there's a statement in the Baha'i writings that if two people dispute about the doctrines of religion, that they're both wrong. That the spirit of religion is to unite hearts, not to divide them.
Absolutely. Well, that's very, very profound, very simple, very profound.
Yeah.
Our favorite prayer that we do on Shabbat, particularly when we have visitors, is "No religion is an island," and it really speaks to me as far as here you're on Rabbi Rock, and the rock intended is this behind us, this little earth we're on. All of humanity are on this little speck of dust floating through the cosmos. And we get so puffed up and so proud.
Yeah.
And that's, on Pesach, we eat matzah, the flatbread, to remind us of that we must be humble. And there is no truth without humility. There is no truth without loving kindness. If you are not loving and kind, you are not religious, no matter what you think. And I'm very, very happy to hear these thoughts of the Baha'i religion, because it is an aspect, really, perhaps the central and most important aspect of religion, to unite the hearts of humanity, to lift up the spirit of humanity into one. We could be different. We could have our different languages, our different ways of worship, and our different practices, our different dietary laws. But we mustn't worship the dietary laws. We mustn't worship even the prophets. The prophets are just supposed to give us the message of God, inspire us. Once again, I thank you for being here, and we've been listening to Dr. John Woodall representing Baha'i for us today. So, shalom and
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you very much. Shalom.
Is a love